Welcome back for another video focusing on Joy Crettaz and Muscle House by the Sea. As you know, Steve Reeves and George Eiferman lived in Muscle House by the Sea in the 1950s. Most of the information in this video comes from our good friend Rudy. Rudy currently lives in Brazil and is in his early 80s. I'm fortunate to be able to email with Rudy regularly. In fact, I would say that without Rudy, we would never know much about Joy, the location of Muscle House, or have some of the pictures that Rudy has so graciously supplied. We would also not know about the interactions between Steve Reeves and Joy. Personally, I think the As a Man Thinketh by James Allen info is fascinating. I'll link to the other Joy Crettaz and Muscle House by the Sea videos so you'll know what I'm talking about if you haven't already seen them in the description below this video. Here's Rudy's background. Rudy saw some American Muscle magazines at age 15 and began working out, doing push-ups, using chest expanders, and then he joined a gym in Rio. Soon after, Rudy traveled to Santa Monica, California in 1961. One of the many incredible chapters of his life involves meeting George Eiferman in 1961 when Rudy was 20 years old at the Santa Monica Muscle Beach Weightlifting Club, and then being introduced to Fleurette Joy Crettaz. Joy owned a bodybuilding landmark known as Muscle House by the Sea. Muscle House by the Sea was a popular house that bodybuilders paid $1 a day to live in, with the added bonus of being mothered by likable owner and fitness enthusiast Joy Crettaz. In this video, we're going to meet another character who lived in Muscle House by the Sea at the same time that Rudy lived there. His nickname on the beach was Hollywood by Night. His real name was John Knight. He was tall, dark, and handsome, and he lived with Rudy and other bodybuilders in Joy Crettaz's Muscle House by the Sea, located at 160 Hill Street, Santa Monica, California, in the early 1960s. He might have been a little vain, or a lot. Rudy says he used to brush his hair in front of the mirror in Muscle House with a special brush while singing, "You Made My Life So Glamorous." Rudy says the rest of us used to tease John and say, "Hey, you're losing your hair in the front. Wow, you're getting bald." John would get very pissed off. John's favorite TV show was Playboy's Penthouse. John used to go out every night with different ladies. He would introduce himself as John Knight from El Paso, Texas. He said he had been Mr. El Paso. Once there was a chin-up and parallel bar dips contest in Venice Beach. Among others, John went there, plus Court Magner, my close buddy. There were trophies for the first 3 contestants. John did not do so bad. He actually won 3rd place, while I only made a lousy 5th place. But all in all, he was not a bad guy, even when sometimes we gave him a hard time. Many times, lots of times, the gal he used to date had 1 or 2 more other girls who were roommates. Most of us were in bed at 9 or 10 at night. That's when he left the house, always very well dressed, and around midnight, he would crash into our rooms, wake us up, and say, "Hey, I got my car outside with 2 more girls. Get up, dress quickly, and come out. They're waiting for you." Sometimes it was me who had to give him a hand and entertain one of the ladies. Along with the nickname Hollywood by Night, we also gave John the nickname Loverboy. So I had to ask Rudy, did John ever meet Steve Reeves? After all, they both lived in Muscle House around the same time. And Rudy said, yeah, he had known Steve. John had known Steve, but they had just a polite same housemate relation. I suspect, but I'm not sure, that John was a bit jealous about Steve. Besides, Steve was very discriminating with whom he would make friendship. He was very polite with everybody, but always kept a certain distance. Also with women, Steve was very nice to them, always a gentleman, but very selective about dating. Those things were told to me by Joy and some of his former roommates. Joy had a great respect for Steve, and their conversation was at a high level. As for John Knight, Joy said he was a womanizer and a sinner and would go to hell unless he repented to save his soul. She always told me to be more like Steve. So there you go, another Muscle Beach bodybuilder brought onto our radar thanks to Rudy. I also want to thank all of you who continue to share your experiences and photos, like Randy, Dave Dupree, Eric, Joe, Dave Dowling, Jeff, Rolf, Barry, Mark, and many others. Finally, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter, Lift. It's my free weekly newsletter all about Muscle Beach and the golden era of bodybuilding. There are stories, announcements, photos, and videos. In a recent issue of the Lift newsletter, I released a 60-second video of never before seen footage of Steve Reeves. And if you're not a subscriber, you won't see that kind of stuff. So be sure to subscribe to my newsletter called Lift. The link to subscribe to Lift is in the comments below this video. See you next time.